Is your leg hitting it, maybe? No, it's just, yeah.
Be nice if we can get this all the time.
Leave you as a surprise. All right. We put that along.
Okay, well, let's show in a row. Madam Clerk, are we live?
We are live.
Wonderful. Thank you for a packed house. There are some seats in the front. If anybody would like to come and sit in those, feel free. You don't have to stand in the back of the room. Welcome to our Northport City Council meeting. Today is May 5th, 2025. We're glad you're here and thank you for being here. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Keller has an excused absence. Mr. Claus,
Here.
Mr. Brandt, Mr. Williams,
Here.
Mr. Jacobson, Mr. Schuster, Mayor Church.
Here. Please stand. We'll say the pledge and then the invocation will be given by Pastor McBroom from True North Baptist. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join me in prayer. Almighty God, we pause to give you thanks this evening for the opportunity to conduct this business and to observe our leaders that you have appointed here to do that. As always, we give you thanks for your goodness, for your kindness, and for the mercy that you shower down upon our lives. We thank you for your providence in the guidance of the affairs of this city. It is our prayer for the leaders that are represented here and for all the actions that will take place tonight, that it would be in accordance with your will and your purpose, and that it would bring glory to you. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen. Thank you. That brings us to action item 4, approval of the agenda.
Move to approve.
Second. I'll second. So moved and seconded. Any adjustments or discussion?
I'd like to move American Health Insurance update for the end of the meeting.
Second.
I would also like to update 12.
Let me get a vote on the Brandt and Jeff
Okay.
agenda change. I'm moving the American Health to the last item on the agenda. Mr. Claus,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson, Mr. Schuster, Mr. Brandt, and Mayor Church.
Yes. I'd also like to amend and add item 12E. Ms. Chandra Clack to appointment of Board of Ethics as an alternate.
Second.
Discussion? Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
On adding item E, Ms. Clack for a alternate on the Board of Ethics, Mr. Claus,
Yes.
Mr. Brandt,
Yes.
Mr. Williams, Mr. Jacobson, Mr. Schuster,
Yes.
and Mayor Church.
Yes.
And on the agenda for this evening,
Actually, Madam Clerk, one other thing. I would like to consent item 12A, which is the tuition reimbursement request to council.
Second.
Mayor, seconded by Jeff Jacobs. Okay, and moving 12A to the consent agenda, Mr. Schuster,
Yes.
Mr. Brandt,
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson,
Yes.
Mr. Williams, Mr. Claus,
Yes.
and Mayor Church.
Yes.
And on the agenda for this evening, Mr. Schuster, Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Brandt,
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson,
Yes.
Mr. Claus, and Mayor Church.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Clerk. That moves us on to item 5, the approval of the meeting minutes from April 21st, 2025.
Move to approve the regular meeting minutes from April 21st, 2025. I'll second.
Any corrections, adjustments? Seeing none. Madam Clerk?
On the minutes, Mr. Claus,
Yes.
Mr. Keller. Oh, I'm sorry,
Absent?
Mr. Schuster,
Yes.
Mr. Brandt, Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson, and Mayor Church.
Yes. Okay, communications from the mayor. That moves us on to me. I went to the Alaska Infrastructure Development Symposium on the 22nd. Enjoyed that. Learned a lot about grants, the importance of grants, water and sewer operating training classes, grant management. Something that I found especially interesting was community land trusts, which is something that is done by the community of Sitka. It takes property and sort of pre-develops that to provide affordable housing, similar to a land lease. Looking into that, I think it would be something that would be advantageous for North Pole to have. But certainly something I'm doing some research on. In that symposium, we had a great presentation put on by the Cold Climate Housing Research Center. And what was interesting to me is that I didn't know that they had YouTube videos at the Cold Housing Climate Research Center. Cleanup day right around the corner, May 10th. And there'll be a hot dog lunch provided by the Church of North Pole, which is behind Little Richards. And then last Saturday, I attended Buddy Day at the Alaska Air National Guard. It's an opportunity for people of our community to get together and find out what jobs are offered out at the Air National Guard. And pretty cool. Quite an event. This afternoon for the North Pole High School graduates, if you drive up and down NPHS Boulevard and 8th Avenue now, every North Pole High School graduate has a plaque that's hanging from a light post. Pretty neat on both sides from the high school all the way down to the middle school. So would love to see everybody drive by, take a look, and love to see that happen every single year if at all possible. With that, I would like to say thank you to Chief Dutra for all of your service to our community. The years that you have put in the group that you have trained up to take your place is immense. And thank you for leaving this city in such a wonderful, wonderful spot. Thank you doesn't seem like enough, but we do appreciate it. We really do. With that, I would like to move us forward to the pinning ceremony.
Want me to swear?
That's completely up to you and him. I think that makes a lot of sense.
If you want to follow along. I, Jed Smith,
I, Jed Smith,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the
Constitution of the State of Alaska,
the Constitution of the State of Alaska,
and the Code of Ordinances of the City of North Pole.
and the Code of Ordinances of the City of North Pole.
And I will faithfully discharge my duties
And I will faithfully discharge my duties
as Chief of Police, so help me God.
as Chief of Police, so help me.
I'd now like to move to suspend the rules and take a 15-minute break.
For cake.
Break. Cake and pictures. Yeah. Objection.
Yeah.
Yeah. They need to have it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, gonna need it. Yeah. Yeah.
What's his last name? Wright's kids are so cute.
Yeah. I just had a half,
This baby right here, doesn't it look like it just fell?
yeah, yeah,
Identical twinner.
there you go. Yeah,
Yeah, he looks just like his dad.
yeah,
Such a
Yeah.
wholesome group.
there's one back here. Oh, yeah, yep. Definitely starting to be a little bit nicer weather for walking through than up. The Wednesday was real nasty. It was windy.
Before, you, most people don't know, but you, 3 years ago.
Oh, really? Oh, that's great.
It wasn't Saturday.
Yeah, yeah, that's cool. That is cool. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah.
I'm like way too fast.
Yeah. Is there anything I found?
Be incognito.
Okay. Well, incognito you are, sir. Okay.
I cleared the chambers.
Good evening. We are back at it again. Madam Clerk, are we live?
We are restarting the meeting and we are at council member questions of the mayor.
Perfect. Any council members have questions of the mayor? Okay, seeing none. Moves us on to citizens' comments. Madam Clerk.
Any person wishing to speak needs to sign up on the list located on the public testimony table. Respectful standards of decorum and courtesy should be observed by all speakers. Remarks should be directed to the council as a body rather than any one member of the council or staff, and you have 5 minutes. And I have nobody online. Is there anybody in chambers?
There are some names up here on the list. Haney, Howard, Rixey are both signed up.
Oh, did you want to?
Please step up. If you want to pull that, yeah. Thank you.
Well, greetings and thank you very much. First, I'm delighted to be here on the last evening for Steve Dutra. Many years ago, when he first came on the police force, the city of North Pole had a rather tarnished reputation, and he was really able to turn that around. And it's been pleasure working with him, both in a legislative capacity and in a community capacity. And the city has certainly been very blessed to have him. And we will very much miss you. I don't know where he must have disappeared already. Beat, beat, get out. At any rate, but the second thing I wanted to talk to you about is, you know, my husband and I bought a new car back in the end of last year on 2020 Pathfinder, very nice. January, we ran into a moose. So it took over a month and a half to get the underling of the body fixed. And then we just last week got the final piece received to put the wrap on it so that it would meet the requirements of the proposed ordinance. So I would hope that you would prayerfully consider the changes that were proposed by Mr. Brand, because I want to tell you, it's taking a long time to get car parts. We were totally insured. It was covered. There was not even a dispute with our insurance company, which is Allstate. You know, we don't have like a flaky insurance policy. And yet I really felt very uncomfortable driving into the city of North Pole for things like my nails. As you can see, my nails haven't been done for a while, and lashes and my hair and all that good stuff that I get done. Groceries I buy, because I didn't have the rest of that secured. And I just didn't think it would be a very good look for a borough assembly person to have some kind of vehicle ordinance thing going on in a car impounded and the whole bit. I very much appreciate the changes that were suggested by Mr. Brandt, and so I really hope you take them to heart in your debate and prayerfully consider those. It is a lot of times when people have car parts missing. I mean, I can imagine, you know, my kids are grown, my grandkids are grown, except for one of them. So you're sitting there and you're thinking to yourself, what if I did have a little baby and I did have to go in to get milk? And, you know, yet you've been waiting for months for this car part. What would you do? And, you know, then you get pulled over for a vehicle violation, but what are you supposed to do? I mean, you can't afford to get another car. You've got to come up with the co-payment on the car parts, you got to wait for the parts, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm hoping that you all do give some due consideration to that. And of course, my comments are as a private citizen. Last, I want to make you aware, this Thursday evening is when the assembly will be doing their budget debates, and all that good stuff amendments. Whether or not you want to show up and give comments is up to you. I'm sure it'll be a very lively discussion and a very fast-paced discussion. But if you're interested in tuning in, or if you have any comments you would like to forward to the assembly ahead of time, I do hope you do that. Whether, you're on the council or not, if you're just listening in, the assembly does need to hear from people. And we had a lot of testimony last week, good stuff. We'll continue to have a lot of testimony, I'm sure, into the future. But this is when you put that stuff forward to us. So I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to speak as a private citizen here, and wish you the best this evening.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
What car part was missing that you didn't have?
Well, it was the bumper wrapper that took forever to get in, but there was also some wiring that had to do with like a fog light that was dangling, and there was also some pieces on that kind of were hanging really low, because that's where when you plug in the car in the winter and you have the heater, underbelly heater, block heater, I guess. And some of those wires had fallen, and even after they got it replaced, I guess it was kind of a messy deal. They couldn't get in there. So, yeah. Yeah, so think about that. That was in January 5th or something like that. And it was April 19th, 20th, when we finally got the parts. That's a long time. So,
Glad to
Thanks.
hear you're back in your wheel. That's great.
yeah.
Well, good evening, council. So I'm here speaking on behalf of the North Pole Chamber, and one of the things I wanted to share with you is just last week, we put together a little 4-month calendar of events that the chamber is involved with, and I've shared that with each of you there. So that's just for your benefit. But I did want to highlight a couple things there, one of which is our Make Us Shine campaign that we did last year, which is a 3-part thing. One is obviously promoting highway cleanup, which is this weekend. Along with that, on Saturday, we're doing a special 1-day special recycling collection point at the Welcome Center. So in that case there, the police department are going to be collecting old prescriptions from 10 to noon. We've got Golden Heart Waste Management is going to be out there collecting metals, papers, cardboard, and plastics. The Lions are collecting glasses. We got boxes for cold weather clothes and stuff that we'll be giving to the churches and whatnot. Green Star is going to be out there collecting electronics, old electronics, and then the Barrel is going to be out there collecting. They'll have a bin for hazardous waste fluids and oils and batteries and that kind of thing there.
That's this Saturday?
This Saturday,
At
yeah.
What are the times that they'll be there? Sorry.
So it's from 9 till 3, with the exception of the police department, because they're the only ones that can collect the drugs there. So they'll be there from 10 till noon. And then the other part, the third prong of our Make a Shine campaign there is the junk car towing. I am very happy to report that the borough mayor has given us a sponsorship, is the appropriate word, for $5,000. Last year, we received $3,000 and towed 30 cars out of the North Pole community here. Our goal this year is 50 cars. So starting Saturday is when we kick off that campaign, and it will run throughout the summer until the funds are gone. And just as a reminder, how that works is if you have a junk car in your yard, you can call one of the 2 tow companies that we're partnering with there. That's Tug and Grand Towing and Axle Towing. They'll come out, they'll look at it. If it has salvage value, they'll hook it up and tow it away, no cost. If there is no salvage value, the resident is going to pay $100. And then the rest is picked up by the chamber using these funds that the borough gave us there. So anyways, so we'll be having signage and whatnot out there at the Welcome Center on Saturday to kick that off there. So, and I know that the city has some targeted yards to look at there. So we'll be glad to help in that regard there. So, but we're really excited about those 3 things there. The other thing I'll just promote here is a couple of things that are happening in the community. May 17th, that's Saturday. So a week from this Saturday, NAMI is doing the mental health walk, and they're doing the start and finish them right there at the Welcome Center. Along with that, there is May 31st, the big day, the biggest day for North Pole, because that's Cruising with Santa Car Show and Street Fair, as well as the Spring Bazaar. And for you new council members, if you don't know, that's about 4,000 people that are going to be here smack dab in the middle of that mall and all the roundabouts for the entire day. Because the bazaar runs from 10 till 5, the Cruising with Santa runs from 11 till 4. And after 4 o'clock, the cars usually cruise the neighborhood here to tout their awards and whatnot there. So those are the big things. And then the last thing I want to announce is the farmer's market. So that's been a big to-do here. So the chamber has endorsed the idea of having a farmer's market. It's going to be at the Welcome Center. It'll go every Friday. Right now, we're setting the hours from 2 till 6 p.m. At next week's meeting, we may bolster that up a little bit more, just based on feedback we just got in the last couple of days here. But the good news is it's going to be under a tent, or at least for the most part of the tent, because the Lions bought the 30 by 40 foot tent. It's commercial grade tent. It has arrived today, and with the help of a bunch of volunteers, we're going to put it up this Friday. So, so we'll put as many vendors as we can underneath that, and if there's still overflow, then we'll have pop-up tents. As well, we'll have some picnic tables, and then we're trying to coordinate having 2 food trucks out there every Friday on a rotational basis. So that's all I wanted to share with you tonight. Any questions? Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Question about the car towing program.
Yes, sir.
I assume that's area-wide, not specifically for the city limits.
Right, so you should have to appreciate, so the North Pole Community Chamber defines North Pole Community, starting at the back gate of Wainwright, going down the Badger Corridor, Nordell Road, all the way out to Salt Show. And last year, I mean, bless the 2 tow truck companies' hearts there, they went all the way out as far as Birch Lake.
Wow.
And, so the only requirement is the resident, when they are asking for the tow here, to make sure all the garbage and stuff is removed from the vehicle. It has to be ready for recycling. Because if they tow it, it's going to K&K unless they deemed it has salvage value. So
what about fluids? I remember at one time that they required
now,
fluids to be removed.
if it's, no, the fluids is not an issue there, because when they, K&K takes it in, they have an intake process, and the initial stage is to drain all the fluids and put it into their haz waste collection process. So no, just remove the garbage.
Okay.
That'd be the case there. So this is a fantastic idea. And again, the whole premise here is to spruce up our community to make it more inviting to potentially new residents or existing residents there, as well as our visitors, obviously.
I do have one other thing. Last week, I came into the visitor center and spoke to you, and I want to thank you for taking the time to go through all the plans that you have and all that kind of stuff. And I encourage anybody that hasn't been there yet to stop by and see the new welcoming center. And if Howard happens to be there, he was very generous with his time to show me all their plans and ideas. And I have to say that every single one of the ideas that you presented to me was a winner, I thought. I mean, usually you throw out a bunch of ideas and see what sticks, but every single one that you talked about, I thought was fantastic. So as far as the farmer's market goes,
Yes, sir.
I want to clarify what we were talking about, that in the city code, there is a exemption specifically for the farmer's market for sales tax, and it covers food also. They do still need to get a city business license, but there is no sales tax on anything sold by the vendors at the farmer's market.
I appreciate that clarification. I know when the vendors sign up with us, we have a kind of a standard agreement there, and we just tell them that they need to reach out and touch the appropriate agencies like DEC and the city as far as licensing goes, and if sales tax was appropriate, that too. So the onus is on them, but we advise them to at least verify whether they are supposed to be compliant or not. So.
And just so you know, I went to your website, and it does specifically say on the website that they are responsible for city sales tax. So I thought maybe you should clarify
Okay,
that.
nope, that's a very good catch there, and thanks for clarifying that. I know you did some research on it, so. All right, anything else?
Thanks, Howard.
All right, no problem. Have a good evening.
Anyone else?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Few quick breaths. We'll be there shortly. Anyone else online?
Nobody else signed up
Okay.
online.
Excellent. Department heads, Madam Clerk, since you got the mic there.
Oh, okay. I'm sure you all received my email, that Zane is going to be, stepping away at the end of June. And the other thing, we have open enrollment for employees for insurance is June 9th through June 23rd. That's my only, yeah.
Okay, all right. Do we have anything from the HR department? All right. Chief Heineken.
Mr. Mayor, Council, just a couple brief things real quick from the fire department. We've set our open house date for this year, so open house for the fire department will be July 19th, a little bit later in the year than usual. We decided last year we'd actually done it a little bit. We were doing it in May. We bumped it to June last year, which worked pretty well, but it was a little disappointing because our new apprentices hadn't started yet. So we looked at July this year because we'll have the new apprentices in, and possibly some of the current apprentices, still as part-timers with us, will be available as well. So we're looking forward to their participation in our open house this year. So set your calendars.
What day in
July 19th. It's around Golden Days if I'm correct. The only other thing is we do have cleanup day trash bags at the fire stations. So come on over, get your cleanup day trash bags. Be prepared to hit the streets and make it look shiny and clean out there. So that's all I have tonight. I can answer any questions if you have any.
Right, thank you, Chief. Chief Smith.
To all of you, good evening. Just a couple things for you to be aware of as far as scheduling upcoming. On the 10th, the cleanup day, we're also going to be doing cleaning up at the Memorial Park over here on Dochi. That'll be starting at 10 a.m. and I anticipate it'll take a couple hours. We're going to do some raking and flower planting and that type of thing, but people are welcome to come out and help. A number of us from the police and fire departments will be there. And then the very next week on the 15th at 11 a.m. will be the actual memorial ceremony. So always good to see folks, especially those such as yourselves, out in support of that for Police Memorial. A little bit later on this month, we've got the torch run coming up May 17th that we're always excited to participate in. That's held out at Chena Lakes. It's a good time, good effort to support. A couple of things going on around the department. Last week we had 2 full days of training, which was really good. We recertified on our tasers, and we also did some what's called manual breaching over at the fire training building across the street over here. So big kudos to Public Works for making a very stout door that was good training for our folks. And then on a very encouraging note, Officer Wright will be looking at getting off FTO if all things continue the direction they're headed next week. So he's going to have 1 more week and we will be officially, at least for now, fully staffed in that everyone is actually on the street and functional. So that's exciting. He's done a really good job. And I'm excited to see what the future holds for him. And that's all I have for you. I'll take any questions if you have them. Sir.
What day was that memorial ceremony?
The memorial itself will be on May 15th at 11 a.m. It starts.
I forgot to ask last meeting, when is a new police vehicle scheduled to be here?
The one that I just ordered today, we're hoping August. That's what they're projecting.
Thank you.
You have 2 other ones on the way, correct?
2 other ones that are sitting at the shop that I am not particularly happy with right now. Yes.
You know what the holdup is on this?
Last I heard, they're waiting for a part for the spotlights on them. Yeah. It's essentially one of those issues where there are other clients that they have that have hundreds of vehicles and we have 2. And so
That's something where they can go ahead and ship them up here and then we can have somebody local take care of that.
potentially. I generally like if we've paid them for the work to have them do the work. We have enough vehicles to continue on until they arrive. So there's a reason why I won't be continuing to patronize that company after this point.
Any other questions? Thank you, Chief. About the CFO.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My apologies for sending out the financial statements late this afternoon. I meant to do it a week or two ago. I actually feel like I've lost a month somewhere along the way. It's already May. I did update the sales tax and the interest income statements. I'm going to try to email these out to you from here on out because it's just papers get big. And the only other thing I have to report is today we got notice of the SEMT money. It's a little over $255,000 this year. So
Was the audit coming along?
they were out on another project last week, so we got a kind of a quiet week where we kind of could shift our gears and do some grant reporting and that kind of stuff. So there's a few follow-up things, but they're trying to complete early this year. So hopefully we can get them on that first meeting in June. That's our plan right now.
For the Director of City Services, first off, a new director has been offered the position, has accepted it, and will start later this May. So that's very exciting from all standpoints.
Can you announce the name?
I don't know if I can or not.
problem.
I want to make sure that he has given notice at his current
Oh, very good. Yes.
employer before I stick that out publicly.
well.
But he is an engineer. He has experience with large projects. Interviewed very well. Sent him out with our public works guys after the interview and our utility guy after the interview. They both gave me the thumbs up on him. I sat and had lunch with him for about 2 hours and talked with him about the projects that we had coming up to make sure that that was something that he felt as though was attainable for him to take on and deal with. The city has a ton of moving parts, and an engineer who is going from project to project, it's like having 27 projects at the same time. I wanted to make sure that if we did hire him and offer him the job, that he was prepared for that, and seems ready for the job. So very excited to bring him on and try not to overwhelm him his first week.
And he is local from what I understand, correct?
He is local, been here 10 plus years, doesn't have any intention of leaving. That was one of my discussions that I had with him on Friday. I wanted to make sure that the city was sort of protected for someone who was going to stay around and not just do a few years and away we go. So pretty excited about that. On the department head, director of city services side, we did a sewer forgiveness, which typically doesn't happen, but it was a multifamily home that water got used, actually flooded the basement. It was witnessed when our utility employee went over there to correct the problem, shut things off, turn it on, multiple inches of water. Based on their typical usage, because they're multifamily, they weren't able to sign up and be part of the Roundup program. That's the way the code is written, but it is also written that they can receive sewer forgiveness. So looking at history of that, there was a sewer forgiveness of $505.14 for the gallons above and beyond any historical high for the previous year that was confirmed to have not gone down our sewer system, but through his crawl space. Very unfortunate for that, but happy to be able to provide that service to our residents and make that happen. Prescribed burns, I got a notice last week. I don't know if you guys have seen on Facebook, whatnot. Prescribed burns are going to be happening around the area that may affect things that we have going on. I am glad that they're doing it. Hopefully they get to it while it's raining and it doesn't stick around too long, but glad that they're doing it for fire prevention. I think it's super important. I think about the Stewart fire that happened out there off of Johnson Road almost 10 years ago now, and how devastating that was for our entire area. Very scary for the folks out on Chena Hot Springs, and just a smoky mess for all of us here for a solid month. It was pretty terrible. So I'm glad to see they're getting ahead of that. The FAA, I received a notice the FAA is proposing a new radar location. They looked at six different sites around the airport and chose one that is about a block down from their current location on the other side of the road, right next to the weather station, the FAA weather department that they have, about a block away from East Ramp Pizza. So if any of you are interested in reading that letter, I have that in my office as well. And that's the end of that report. Are there any questions? Okay. Did I forget anybody? Okay, wonderful. That takes us on to ongoing projects, and we don't have any. Brings us to item 11A, unfinished business.
Move to adopt ordinance 2025-04, amending motor vehicle impound and state forfeiture code.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Public testimony now.
Yes, sir.
Unless there was a staff report at all.
Would you like to give a report on that? Chief?
Just by way of refreshing, the intent of this is simply to update the language of our ordinance in keeping with current legal trends and case law, and to add some more objective standards to the criteria for impounds.
Questions?
Earlier in the work session, I made that comment about the language change proposed. Did I remember that correctly? That removing the verbiage about discretion would not impact how the officers can do their job.
It would not, because as we discussed last meeting, it's still based on the officer's judgment who's on scene.
But I just want to make sure I remembered correctly.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it. Would anyone wish to give public testimony? Oh, Ms. Wilson. I'm excited about this. Welcome.
Hi, now it's good to see you and hear you. Thank you for using your microphones for those of us who don't hear as well as we used to. My name is Tammy Wilson. I live in the Batcher area. My daughter wanted me to give her sincere apologies for not being here. Her 7-year-old had a cheer competition in Tennessee, in which for Alaska they placed second, so they're very excited. So first of all, thank you, Mr. Brandt, for taking out the discretionary of the officer. Although I know that it doesn't seem to make a difference, I think it will make a difference to people, because it'll seem like somebody's making what they think the judgment is, and then they could come in and bring any evidence in to the contrary. But I do have a couple of questions on the 4 questions that are on there, because I went back to listen to the tape just to see if I heard it correctly. And it was said that it would never be safe to have the car on the side of the road. And 3 of the 4 really are determined whether or not it's safe to have it on the side of the road. So I'm not exactly sure how you would judge that if an officer automatically believes it's never safe to be on the side of the road. We see cars on the side of the road all the time, depending upon what kind of weather there is and all the rest of it. Is it just truly unsafe just because it's there? And if it is, then 3 of your 4 questions don't really make any sense. And then I have one other question. So just using the example that kind of got us all involved in this in the first place, and maybe this is for the new chief. So let's say I didn't have insurance, so I get stopped, I get a ticket, and I do have insurance on all my cars, just, make sure everybody knows that. And so I get the ticket, which is still deserved. I didn't have it, but we all know in today's world, you can go on your phones and you can get insurance almost immediately. This lady did get her insurance immediately, was able to show the officer that she had it. That's really not underneath any of those 4 things to take into account. So I'm assuming, maybe I shouldn't assume, but since it says may, then the discretion or the, judgment of the officer can go beyond those 4 questions. So it would be nice to know, because on things like that, I would hate to think that you couldn't find somebody to come pick up your car. You had insurance, you were able to prove it, you took care of the unsafeness of it. I just don't know how far those 4 questions go. And so I know that's why we all got involved in the first place, because that lady did lose her car to impound, and that was sad to see, and paid the $500, which she already admitted to be able to do. And I would hate to see that happen again if it could be prevented. And so I just want to make it clear that the ticket should absolutely have been given. They should have had to pay for the ticket, but to automatically not fit underneath one of those 4 questions and then think it has to be towed. Anyway, I would hope that would never happen again. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, questions? Oh, yes, please.
In regards to your question, I think item D does address that. It says the language there, if not impounded, does the continued operation of the vehicle pose an unreasonable risk to public safety, which includes uninsured vehicle or exposure to an uninsured vehicle. So if that vehicle was insured on the spot, there would be no exposure, I'm assuming.
That's great. Thank you.
Questions? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Wilson. Any other testimony? Any other discussion?
I'd like
Please
to propose an amendment.
state your amendment, sir.
On line 44, strike at the discretion of the officer or otherwise.
Section.
No, just strike the words at the discretion of the officer or otherwise.
Or other, okay.
Leave in the rest of that. Then line 46, strike the word consider, replace that with the word determine, and strike the word factors.
Second.
Okay. And that was Mr. Brandt, seconded by Mr. Jacobson.
Discussion on the amendment. I will be supporting that. I think that works out and makes a lot of sense. So thank you for putting that forward, and thank you for moving it forward. Any other discussion? Please, Chief.
I'm not in disagreement with this amendment. I would clarify that the or otherwise in accordance, those words or otherwise in accordance apply, that they connect this part of the ordinance to the ordinance at large. So that is separate from at the discretion of the officer. So my suggestion would be strike at the discretion of the officer, leave or otherwise in accordance with the section, because what that's saying is this is a subsection. It's connected to that which came before it. So if you cut it where he said, it doesn't make any sense grammatically, and it cuts that part off.
Mr. Brandt, based on what the chief has said, would you like to amend your amendment?
I would just like to clarify, you're saying just strike at the discretion of the officer, leave in or otherwise.
Yes, leave otherwise in accordance with this section, because it's saying it's in accordance with the section that it is nested inside of.
That doesn't make sense to me.
May I?
Please, yes, I apologize. I didn't see.
No, that's
Go
fine.
ahead.
I think what the chief is trying to explain is that the first sentence is citing both state and city code for impoundment, but then it goes further to say, or otherwise in accordance with this section, and then it has those factors down below or those items down below. So if we don't include the or otherwise, then the remaining language is left dangling without it being tied into impoundment in state and city code.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll amend my amendment.
I
It-
do a friendly
The
second.
main thing is to strike the discretion of the officer, so. the
And
rest of
Jeff,
it doesn't
you agree as the second?
Correct.
Okay. So I will leave or otherwise.
And if I may, my direction to my officers is if they get insurance on the side of the road, there's no longer a reason to impound. That's why we're doing this.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it. Any further discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll on the amendment.
On the amendment, Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Brandt,
Yes.
Mr. Schuster,
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson,
Yes.
Mr. Claus,
Yes.
Mayor Church.
Yes.
And was there any other discussion? No. Okay, on ordinance 2025-04 as amended, Mr. Jacobson,
Yes.
Mr. Schuster,
Yes.
Mr. Claus,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Brandt,
Yes.
and Mayor Church.
Yes. Thank you. That brings us on to item 11B.
Move to adopt ordinance 2025-05, an ordinance of the city of North Pole, amending municipal code title 4, chapter 08, section 020 to clarify sales tax on nicotine and vape products.
I'll second.
Okay. Do we have anyone signed up for testimony?
I don't have anybody waiting online and it doesn't look like anybody.
Does anybody? Does anyone have any, please? Go ahead, Jeff.
No, no, no.
Oh,
I
I
was just,
was waving goodbye. Okay. So I thought you were raising your hand. I had a question. Okay. Madam Clerk, seeing no further discussion, please call the roll.
Mr. Schuster,
Yes.
Mr. Brandt,
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson,
yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Claus, and Mayor Church.
Yes.
And that's 5 affirmatives.
Wonderful. Thank you.
6, I'm sorry.
6 affirmatives, copy. Have we heard from Meritain Health about their readiness to give a presentation?
I texted them, I texted them about half hour ago and they weren't ready
Okay.
yet.
I just wanted to check in with them. I'd prefer to take them whenever they're ready. That brings us to new business.
We are at the appointment to the Board of Ethics for Lance Dalkey.
Item 12B. So per our city code, we are supposed to have a full board of ethics, which is a committee that decides good, bad, and different, what happens here at the city when no one else can. And those positions have not been filled for quite some time. So I started asking local area residents if they would be interested in serving on an ethics board. We have 4 in front of us. Any discussion on the appointment of Lance Dalkey?
Move to appoint to the Board of Ethics Lance Dalkey.
Second.
Now we can discuss.
Okay. Any discussion on Lance Dalkey for the appointment of Board of Ethics?
I just have a question. How long's his term for?
Life.
Yeah, it's an indefinite position until he decides to resign, retire, or passes.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. Any other questions? Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
On Lance Dalkey being appointed to the Board of Ethics, Mr. Brandt,
Yes.
Mr. Schuster,
Yes.
Mr. Claus,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson,
Yes.
and Mayor Church.
Yes. Okay, that brings us on to item 12C. I move to approve the appointment of Jerry Million to the Board of Ethics.
I'll second.
Mayor Church. And Benny.
Public comment.
Oh, yeah, is there any public comment on Mr. Million?
Any discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
On the appointment of Jerry Million to the Board of Ethics, Mr. Schuster,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Claus,
Yes.
Mr. Brandt,
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson,
Yes.
and Mayor Church.
Yes. Brings us on to item 12D, the appointment of Philip Wyman. I move to appoint Philip Wyman to the Board of Ethics.
I'll second.
Public comment on Mr. Wyman? Discussion. Please call the roll.
On the appointment of Philip Wyman to the Board of Ethics, Mr. Schuster,
Yes.
Mr. Brandt,
Yes.
Mr. Claus,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson,
Yes.
and Mayor Church.
Yes. Brings us on to item 12E, the appointment of Chandra Clack to the Board of Ethics as an alternate. I'd like to move to make that happen.
I'll second.
Public testimony. Questions? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
On the appointment of Chandra Clack to the Board of Ethics as the alternate, Mr. Claus,
Yes.
Mr. Schuster,
Yes.
Mr. Brandt,
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
and Mayor Church.
Yes.
And they are logging on as we speak, so.
Wonderful.
Perfect timing.
I don't believe I do. Someone else believes different.
Hi, Tiffany. Hi, Angela. Thank you so much for working with us today.
Hi, thank you. Can you hear us?
We sure can.
Okay.
Hi, this is Tiffany. Can you hear me?
We sure can, Tiffany.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Great.
And Tiffany, did you want to take away a presentation or
Yeah, I think Angela has it up to be able to share her screen.
Yep. Let's see here. Stand by just a moment. Sorry, I'm looking how to take over on the screen sharing here.
Is it working, Angela?
Yep, I just found the right button. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
Okay, can you see my screen?
I cannot.
You cannot. Wonderful.
No.
And we can share. Trying again. How about now?
Yes. All right. Can you all see that?
Yes, we sure can.
Okay.
Okay. And we're ready to get started?
Yes, please take it away.
All right. Angela, if you want to advance to the next slide. So good evening, everyone, and we appreciate your patience while we tried to get settled here so we can go through the renewal presentation to you guys this evening. Just a quick agenda of what we're going to cover, just so you know who your account service team is here at Acrisure that supports the city of North Pole for all of their benefits related items. We're going to talk briefly about the year-to-date plan performance from July of 2024 through, I believe we have data in here through March at this point. And then we'll talk about the renewal strategy highlights and the decision points and considerations for the 2025 renewal. At the back of the packet, and those aren't areas where we typically spend much time. So it's more of an addendum with information, but we're happy to answer any questions about that if people have them. So with that, I'll have Angela switch it to the next slide. So my name is Tiffany Stock, and I'm the benefits consultant that helps the city, everything kind of pertaining to strategy. If we want to go out to market, evaluate all those options. And then Angela Baker is the account executive who is there to execute whatever decisions are made. So when we're exploring other options, she's making it all happen, helping coordinate open enrollment and things like that. We have Shantae Garcia in our employer services team that helps with the benefits enrollments and getting your enrollment platform ready for the city employees. And then we have our support team that are in the office Monday through Friday. They're there for general customer service for all members and their family members that are enrolled on any of the benefits programs provided to the city. All right, so this year-to-date plan performance is going to show you data from July of 2024 through February 28th, 2025. And in general, this data plus March data is what goes into giving us estimates for the renewal offer. So you'll see here, this is your year-to-date experience visual report. Got it broken down by every month of the plan year. The number of employees that were enrolled as of the first day of the month for that plan month, the costs that were paid to Meritain as your administrative service provider, the stop loss premiums that were paid to your stop loss carrier for both your individual and your aggregate stop loss protection. Then you'll see your variable costs, and these are things that have actually occurred. So you've got your medical claims on a monthly basis, your pharmacy claims, vision claims, dental, any claims adjustments. That could be things for reprocessed claims, subrogation, certain types of refunds and things like that that could happen with the plan would be adjustments, and then those get netted out from your total claims liability. And you'll see amounts paid by stop loss. So once you've met your individual stop loss amount of $40,000 on a specific person, and then you guys have an extra level of risk that's called an aggregating specific. So once one person meets 40, the stop loss kicks in, but you do have an additional 15,000 liability before that individual stop loss kicks in for the whole population. So you'll see here that claims started being paid out for stop loss in October of 2024, and you've had some payments every month since then. This next column gives you group paid claims. So this is your total claims liability minus anything paid by stop loss to give you the net cost to the city. Your aggregating specific. So you'll see 11,575 of that was met in September, and then the additional 3,425 before stop loss started paying out an additional $4,600 that month. The next two columns are your projections. So this is showing, based on the renewal for 2024, the estimated and maximum cost based on the renewal factors at that given time. So it kind of gives you an idea of where the underwriters thought you guys, the city would be running, and what your maximum liability would have been on any given month. And then you'll see here your actual costs. So you can see some months you were higher than expected, some months you were lower than expected. And then there were a few months in there where you were actually higher than the maximum allowed. But you did bring that back under, finishing through February. You'll see here at the bottom at an 86% loss ratio. So out of your total expected and maximum claims loss prediction, you guys were running at 86% of that maximum liability. This is the same data, but in a kind of a more bar chart format. So you can see at the bottom shows you your admin fees every month. The next light brown box, that's going to be your stop loss premiums. Then you'll see the light blue, kind of bright blue is that aggregating specific when you met it there in September and October. The actual group paid claims minus any stop losses in that darker blue. And then you'll see the beigeish colored bar, that's where the underwriters expected you to run. And the blue dash is your maximum. So you can see July, you were under both expected and maximum. August, you were above both, above your maximum. September, above your maximum. October, you were slightly above maximum. November and December ran more than expected, but under your maximum liability. January was below expected, and then February ran just under your maximum liability.
Where are we at in March?
So March data has not been released in the portal. That's why it's not in here yet.
Understood. Thank you.
Yep. This shows high claimants for the 2024 plan year. So all claimants with more than $20,000, so half of the individual stop loss limit, being paid between July 1 of 2024 through 2/28. And you'll see that there were 4 claimants popping up on this report. So claimant number 1 is a dependent. They are at 263% of that individual stop loss limit. They were not a high claimant the year prior. And the prospective risk score gives, you can see kind of there at the bottom, a 1.10, or in this claimant's case, a 1.23. That reflects that they have a 23% greater risk than the average population to have higher future claims. Claimant number 2 is an employee. They were at 124% of the stop loss, and they're at 258% for a prospective risk score. So the underwriters do see that as a risk for ongoing claims. Claimant number 3 is a dependent. They also have a risk score of 2.31. So, 131% more likely to have future high claims. And then claimant number 4 was a spouse. They were at 96% of that individual stop loss. The majority of that is related to pharmacy claims. And those are expected to be ongoing. And that prospective risk score is 65% higher than the greater population. So these are the claimants with known costs that are predicted to have future claims if they continue to stay enrolled on the plan. But none of these individuals, at least when we pulled the reporting, had any current prior authorization. So indicating that there might be a future surgery or hospitalization or things like that. Recapping some changes that we made at the last renewal. So for July 2024, we updated your maternity management program to a case rate of $365 rather than paying a flat PEPM regardless of if someone uses it. You added the pre-admission and post-discharge counseling at an hourly rate of $130. City only pays that if someone actually engages in that pre-admission or post-discharge counseling. You changed the payroll deductions. You implemented a 4-tier structure based on how someone enrolls, and also increased the employee and family deductions by 20%. And you created additional tiers with the same contribution percentage based on the COBRA rates that were calculated based on the renewal factors. Acrisure, as your benefits consultant, had a fee increase of 10% over a 2-year period. And currently there is not another proposed fee increase at this time. And then you renewed with your incumbent stop loss carrier called IOA Re. You renewed that as is. There was a $52,000 laser on a specific member when we renewed last year, but that member termed and did not take COBRA. So even though that laser stayed with part of the policy, there were no dollars attributed to it because the member was no longer enrolled. And then we added the organ transplant rider. There is a separate premium for that, but it did get us a discount on your individual stop loss premiums. And essentially what that does is if there were ever to be an organ transplant situation, it would be payable under a different stop loss policy, not your general stop loss policy. All right. Here you'll see the Meritain administrative renewal. So we do have it broken down in a little bit more detail on the following slides, but in summary, Maritime is not changing anything for their renewal fees. So they're keeping all of their fees for network management and the claims administration side of things as is. And they do have different cost savings programs that you could elect that could impact your overall spend to Maritime, but those are all decision points that we will talk through. All right, so your incumbent stop loss carrier, IOA Re, you guys are on what's called a 24/12 contract. And what that means is even though your contract with them begins in July each year, they're going to cover anything that was incurred in the 12 months prior to that contract starting, but paid in the next 12 months. So it looks kind of a backwards glance at the year prior, and anything that was incurred but maybe didn't get paid before the existing contract ends, they're going to pay it under this new contract. So every year, you guys have just been renewing on this 24/12 to cover anything that might not be processed before the new contract takes over. IOA Re, if we stayed with them, and there's benefits to staying with the same stop loss carrier because you've already got the existing relationship. Sometimes based on loss ratios and things like that, when you have a longer history, it helps with negotiating. But based on IOA Re's renewal offer this year, we do not feel like this is going to be the best option for the city. Their fixed costs, so that you pay a per employee per month premium for the stop loss, they are proposing a 4.2% decrease to that amount, save the city about just under $14,000 annually based on current enrollment. They're expecting your claims cost to increase by 7.6%, or just under 48,000. But they are imposing a laser and a conditional laser. And a laser is when the underwriters see one person, or could be more than one person, but they see someone who has a greater probability for risk, and they're cost shifting that. So in order to cover that individual, they are stating that the city would need to take on this $1.3 million conditional laser for one enrolled member. And a conditional laser just means that it's very specific to the type of treatments or procedures being done. So if this member were to have these certain treatments or procedures done, then the city would have an additional $1.3 million liability on that person alone, in addition to the rest of the plan costs. So after talking with Trisha and Emily and Maggie, that's not really a viable option. So we did go out to market, and we did find some alternate options that we think are more attractive and make more sense. So we got some proposals from two carriers that were not imposing lasers. I'm not sure if everybody got this because we actually had one of the lasers removed as recently as today. And so if you were still looking at the packet that was handed out late last week, that one's still going to show a laser on alternate 1 and 2 with BRM. But BRM did remove it. So there's no longer a laser. It would keep your individual specific amount at $40,000 like it is today. You'd keep your $15,000 aggregating specific, and their rates are coming in at 2.6% lower than what you pay IOA Re today. So that'll save the city about $8,600. And then from an expected claims cost, they're expecting to go down by 0.2%. So pretty negligible, about $1,500 a year. When we blend all of that together, it comes in with a 2.3% decrease on your expected claims, which would save the city just over $22,000 over the next 12 months. Your maximum liability, and when we factor in the additional $15,000 liability with the aggregating specific, it brings it to about a 2% decrease. And so that's keeping everything the same as is. And we do think that that is the most attractive option at this point. BRM also put forth an offer if you were interested in increasing your individual specific limit up to $45,000. So you take on an additional $5,000 per person before stop loss would kick in. That'll save you $20,000 annually. So if you have more than 4 people meet that new amount, then it pretty much negates the savings. So based on the size of the city, I wouldn't recommend going higher than 45,000, but 40,000, the rates with that still seem to be pretty attractive from an overall risk standpoint. UME was the other carrier that put forth a proposal. So we had, I want to say 5 or 6 other quotes, but they all included lasers. And so anytime we could avoid a laser, we want to do that just because of the added risk it would add to the city. They weren't all as large of lasers as we saw with the incumbent proposal from Iowa Re, but they were still targeting a few individuals that they expected to have some future claims. So UME was coming in at a 2% decrease, but their claims factors were higher. So your claims factors, if the city doesn't spend the dollars, if the claims don't happen, you don't spend it, but it does set your maximum liability. So, if we have offers where there's a carrier who's setting your aggregate liability at a lower amount, that's usually a good option as long as it's priced appropriately. So with UME, even though it wasn't a bad offer either, but we do feel like based on where the numbers came out that VRM is the most attractive. Are there any questions on the stop loss?
I don't know. Gentlemen, do you have a question about the laser?
So under alternate 2 with BRM, I have listed here a laser of 95,000. You're saying that they're not requiring that under option 2? I know option 1, you said the 100,000 laser is voided.
At the very
Yes.
last minute, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, they removed it after we were able to show that some claims were going to be processed and would not be hitting this new plan.
Great, thank you.
I guess I have a question on alternate 1 and 2.
Sure.
Under fixed costs plus expected claims, and then it goes into laser liability.
No
what-
lasers.
Yeah, so what was that portion?
The BRM originally had on alternate 1 had $100,000 laser, and alternate number 2 had a $95,000 laser. So there would have been an additional liability in terms of claim spend of 100,000 on alternate 1 and 95,000 on alternate 2, but those have both been removed.
Into the mic, sorry.
It's properly reflected on her updated spreadsheet that's here on the computer or large TV.
Just a clarification, are you still recommending alternative 1 then?
Yes, alternative 1, if you're still looking at the one that was distributed at the end of last week, we had some changes this morning.
Yes, alternate 1 is the recommendation.
Any other questions? Please continue.
All right. So cost containment measures and additional services. So part of being a self-funded health plan gives you guys the flexibility to be able to bring in various programs to help with cost containment, member access, and things of that nature. So you'll see these are things that are currently in place on the plan today. You've got your administration services, the network. You guys are on Aetna's POS2 access. You've got dental. There's some administration fees related to a federal No Surprises Act and ambulance, air ambulance administration. You've got some ID card protection as well as pharmacy benefit manager coordination fee. Utilization management, that's a program that you pay $2.80 per employee per month. And that does like claims review and pre-authorizations and things like that. You've got the transparent surgery benefit. And so you pay a flat PEPM or per employee per month, and then an additional 20% of each case rate if someone utilizes that travel surgical benefit. You do have Maritime Administrator COBRA, and there's a fee for that. You do offer teledoc services for medical, dermatology, and behavioral health. And so you pay $1.90 per employee per month. And then there's a consulting fee based on when someone's actually utilizing teledoc. You do have the flexible spending account that Meritage administers. You've got that maternity management program. You've got the pre-admission and post-discharge counseling. You've got a high-cost drug management program. You've got the case management services. And all of those, when you see an hourly rate there, those you're only billed that amount if it's actively being used. So there's no fee by having it available, and you only pay those fees when someone actually utilizes it. You do have the medical evacuation for care coordination service added in there. You do have reinsurance administration. This is because your current provider, IOA Re, is not a preferred stop loss carrier with Meritage. Neither is BRM. So that $1.60 per employee per month would stay there. You do offer the Livongo Whole Person program. It's now going to be called Whole Person Plus. Again, this is targeting things like diabetes management, pre-diabetes management, and hypertension. And that when someone's engaged in the program, that's the only time you incur fees. You do have mandatory generic. And you'll see there, there's two options, and DAW is dispenses written. There's a 1 and a 2, and you guys have dispenses written too. And there is a penalty when a member requests the brand over the generic, but if the physician is the one saying it needs to be dispensed as written, then the member is not penalized. You do have the mandatory specialty pharmacy program, as well as the true accumulation program. There's no cost to have that embedded in the plan. It just makes sure that if a member isn't actually having the out-of-pocket expense, they're not going to get credit towards their plan. Like if they used a manufacturer coupon or rebate to waive their cost shares prior to having that in place, it would still look like the member had paid their deductible or paid their co-insurance into their out-of-pocket. You have maintenance choice, and you allow employees and their family members who are enrolled to opt into that program if they want to get their maintenance medications. You have the prudent pharmacy specialty program. And what that does is if there is a specialty medication being taken and there's a savings on it, the prudent RX team goes through the process to get that savings for the plan. And then they do charge a fee based on the savings. So no savings, no fee, but if they do find the savings, there's a percentage of the savings that they charge in a fee. And then you also do have an exclusion for domestic partners.
Can I, please go
Yep.
ahead, Mr. Brandon,
Sure.
then I'll ask a
Yeah.
question.
Okay,
Sure.
under the Meritage administration, the No Surprises Act Air Ambulance Administration, can you explain that to me, please?
Yes, so part of the No Surprises Act governs any type of emergency surprise billing. And you have to go into kind of arbitration type scenarios if there is ever a situation where it's a not out of network provider and they're billing more than what the plan allows. So the member is held harmless. And the Meritage offered two options for satisfying that arbitration requirement. You could have paid based on when it actually happens, or you could pay, I want to say it's $1 per employee per month that gets added in. And if you paid when it actually happened, that could be a much more volatile number because it would have been a percentage of whatever they were able to negotiate down.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I ask about the transcarent surgery benefit program? Can you explain to me how that works, and plus the 20% of each case rate?
Yep. So Transcarent is a travel medical provider, and they work with providers and facilities across the country to set up kind of centers of excellence. So this is for elective medically necessary but non-emergency procedures. And if someone chooses to participate in Transcarent, it does have to be pre-approved to make sure that they're a candidate. It goes to very specific facilities that meet certain quality, cost, and outcomes metrics. They have to kind of be the top in their field for what that is. Currently, there are no providers in Alaska that meet all those quality metrics. So some of the common ones are like heart-related things at Cleveland Clinic, certain things at the Mayo Clinic, Virginia Mason for certain hip and orthopedic related things. So various services like that. And if someone chooses to go and utilize this, to offer Transcarent, the plan pays $2.70 per employee per month as a fee to Transcarent just to have the program available. Then when someone actively utilizes it, the plan pays for the service, whatever the contracted amount is. And almost all of these procedures have a case rate. So Transparent has negotiated, like for a total hip replacement, it might be $45,000. So you don't get separate bills. It's all billed as one thing. And so Transparent does charge a fee of 20% when they actually do based on the coordination of care. They set up post-op follow-up care, help coordinate travel, all of that kind of stuff. And then the city also gives the employee or the plan member that takes advantage of it. Once they've come back, they give them a $1,500 taxable recovery benefit for just utilizing the Transparent program. And all in all, I believe we have a savings report in the addendum based on some historical utilization. But usually if one person uses it, it pays for itself.
So that's $1,500 regardless of the cost of the surgery.
Yes. And that's as an incentive to members to utilize something that's a lower cost center of care and give them, recognize that they had to travel to have this done and kind of as an incentive to encourage utilization.
So would the travel be covered under the insurance then?
The travel is covered. They coordinate air travel and a companion, things like that.
But the city pays for that.
This city, I don't know if they pay directly for that or if I think it's part of the case rate that Transparent bills the plan.
Okay, I'm just
So it's
wondering
all
if this
inclusive.
$1,500 is expected to reimburse them for their travel, or if the travel is covered under the insurance. Okay, so
Yeah,
it's
that's
a
that's
benefit
covered.
to use the okay, I get it.
Yep. So it's in addition to
Got it.
to the cost of the care. Okay.
And then you have Livongo in red there.
Yep.
Just because of the change.
Yes, the Livongo partnership, they are making changes to their program. So it's not a decision point. It will just automatically change at renewal to this whole person plus program at the new $80 per participant per month, regardless of the condition that they're participating for.
Okay. I think we're good to move forward.
All right. All right. So some of the considerations in addition to making a decision on the stop loss, dental, based on your current plan design and the structure of everything, we're not proposing any changes, but for the vision, we are. Right now, the plan covers an eye exam in full once every 12 months. Members don't pay anything for that. And then they can get lenses, frames, and contacts covered in full, but up to $300 per calendar year. And frames are only covered once every 24 months. So just based on that $300 amount has been that way for, years. I think we looked all the way back to like 2016, 2017, and there's been no changes. So we are recommending that just to keep up with inflation, that you increase the annual hardware benefit amount to $400 and allow frames every 12 months. Based on current utilization, they expect that this would increase plan cost by about $5,000 over the next 12 months.
Why are you recommending the increase to one pair per year rather than one every other year?
Because you'll cover lenses every year, but not frames every year. And most vision companies, if you were to use the same frames, they don't warranty it. So if they break them when they try to put your new lenses in, you're out the frames. So if they're not brand new when they're putting the lenses in, they don't warranty it. So it makes more sense for people when they're getting new lenses to also get a new set of frames.
So this $400 benefit would be lenses and frames combined?
Yes. So it's an increase of $100 more.
The employee would pay $500 and the city would pay $400.
Right. Any other questions on that?
Do we need to make a decision to say accept this, or are we fine with?
I was you guys would make a motion for whichever plan, the BRM 1 or 2 or
Are we doing that as we go along or wait until the end?
I think we're just doing the whole presentation first.
That's what I assumed.
Yep. Yep. And then at the end, we have the decision sheet, so you can just go down and see each item line by line. All right, current medical plan changes. So this one is, this is not something that you need to do. You know, it's obviously up to the city, but as you know, deductibles and what $1 of healthcare gets you today is not what it'll get you next year. We see that medical cost trends are increasing about 0.8% every month. And so there was discussion on potentially increasing the deductible up to 500 from the current 375. That would change the family max deductible as well to 1,500. We also discussed potentially adding a non-participating provider tier. So right now, members pay 10% after the deductible, regardless of whether they're a participating provider in the network or they're not. And so creating some more differential in incentivizing people to see the giving steerage to those in-network providers. Cost perspectives on this, all it's doing is shifting costs to members though. So any of these changes would put more responsibility on the employees and their family members when utilizing the benefits.
So it doesn't cost the city anything. Would it cost the city anything to not go through with these proposed plan changes that you haven't read?
So it wouldn't cost you more than what they're estimating today. If you implemented these changes, the expectation would be that it would decrease the city's cost by about 1%. Because you're shifting that onto the employees and their participating members instead of the city bearing it. So it's not a huge impact because it's a minimal change.
And then the considered increase that you have there, is there a formula that you use to come up with that?
The percentage?
The considered increase. So you're taking the individual deductible from 375 to 500 and the family deductible from 1125 to 1500. Is there a formula you use for increasing that? Or are those just arbitrary numbers?
They're just arbitrary numbers and kind of more common than what we see in the market. 375, I would say we don't see a lot of deductibles there, but we definitely see 500.
I would say I don't know anybody that only has a $375 deductible. What do you consider an average deductible if you have that?
So in Alaska, it's about $3,000, but I would say in like public sector, we tend to see it somewhere between $250 and $1,000.
Yeah. And as council, we can choose to adjust either of those deductibles.
Yeah, if you adjust the individual, it's gonna, whatever you do to the individual, it's gonna do the same for the family with a 3 times cap.
Understood. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. All right. When we talk about cost shifting, increasing the co-insurance for non-participating, you know, right now it's at 10%, whether they're part of the network or not. If you changed it, in-network would still be at the 10%, but out-of-network services, the member would pay a higher cost share. So if you increased it to 20% for non-participating based on the claims from the last 12 months, it would have saved the plan about $13,000. That does mean that would have been additional $13,000 that the employees and their family members would have been responsible for. And if you changed it to 30, the savings to the plan would be about 26,000. But again, that savings is coming through the plan, not paying at a higher percentage. It's through the member having to pay a higher percentage of those services. And we did get, had them pull some reporting, and there were 307 unique claims with about 171,000 in billed charges. Of that, 116,000 had been paid out. There were some that were ineligible, deductible, a copay, co-insurance. So the co-insurance is really where that would be affected. Just over 13,000 was paid in co-insurance, and that amount would double if you raise that co-insurance percentage to 20%. And we did look, it looks like all of these providers, there is at least one other facility in the Fairbanks area. If there was not somebody in the network within a 50, I believe it's a 55-mile radius, then the plan would treat it towards a network cost shares. But in all these scenarios, I think the top ones we looked at, there was at least one other option. So not a lot of choice given the geographical area, but there were in-network providers, just not a lot of them.
So if they're not in the network and they call ahead and get it pre-approved for somebody that is not in network, would that be covered as if they were in network if there's no facility within a 50-mile radius?
Correct. Yep. So if there isn't an in-network option when that's within that radius, it would stay at the 10%.
But they would have to call and pre-approve that before.
It's usually better to do that. We can always have it adjusted after the fact, but if they know ahead of time and they call, then it processes correctly the first time.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And then the claims here, off to the far right, the 21, 23, 34, 30, those are individual times or employee counts that have been there?
Those were individual claims.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Next one. Cost containment measures and additional services available. So these are things that Maritime does offer. And I would say based on these things, we're not recommending any of these right now. The city is not large enough for Hinge Health, Healthcare Blue Book. Being in Fairbanks, there's not a lot of providers that would show up on Healthcare Blue Book. So that wouldn't be a good spend in terms of administrative costs. In the past, there has been discussion on spousal carve out. So that means not allowing employee spouses to enroll if they have other coverage available to them, or making them enroll in their other coverage if they're going to also be on the city's plan. So that is something that could be implemented, but has not, as well as an employee opt-out incentive. So if the city doesn't take, if the employee doesn't take the city's plan, you could implement a cost incentive for them because they're waiving your benefits. And then generic step therapy, that's a pharmacy control that we don't recommend, just because of it can impact people's ability to be able to get their prescription drugs without trying generics first. The other item that we are recommending is a cell and gene therapy exclusion. So cell and gene therapies are relatively newer developments in the healthcare world, used to treat very complex conditions. Some of these drugs are life-saving, but they are very expensive. Typical ones range between $250,000 to up to $3.5 million. I think Angela and I saw one that is getting ready to be released, or has been recently released. It's $7 million for treatment. And so many employers are starting to carve these out and have an exclusion for it. Because when the insurance doesn't cover it, that doesn't mean the member can't get it. Then they can go through application processes to see if they can get it approved through the direct manufacturer. There's assistance programs and things like that for people to be able to get these treatments. But as you can imagine, if the city of North Pole had a cell or gene therapy and it was a couple $1 million for one drug, those are the instances where you're going to start to see things like lasers on individuals, or plan costs just kind of spiraling out of control. These drugs could affect less than 1% of the US population. But we do see health plans across the state starting to carve these out just to protect the plan and the future viability. Any questions on this?
Yeah, can you explain what cell and gene therapy might look like?
Sure. So there are, one is used to treat certain types of blindness, and it can actually correct it. Angela, I can't see the notes on the slides. Did we have some of the?
Yes. Let's see here. Let me scroll down just a moment.
I try to memorize it, but I'm not that good. But there's certain ones to treat certain types of hemophilia, but they're live cultured injectable drugs kind of targeting your cells and your genetics.
There's not a list here specifically in the notes in reading them. Other than what's,
Okay.
yep. There's no afflictions listed other than what you've already mentioned.
Okay. Go ahead.
They could possibly be using stem cells for treatment.
This is not necessarily stem cells. It's gene therapy where it replaces a faulty gene with a healthy one. It can be directly administered into the body after cells have been modified. So they'll take the cells out, treat them, and then put them back in. But it is not like stem cell specifically. And I want to say, like, if you looked up cell and gene therapies, there's a bunch of information coming out on it. But like one of them is a gene therapy for a rare form of vision loss. There's another one that treats spinal muscular atrophy. There's another one that treats certain types of muscular dystrophy. There's some that target a couple different types of hemophilia. And there's new ones coming on the market every year, which is why we're, as they start expanding what conditions can be treated with those types of therapies, then the likelihood of it affecting the health plan becomes a lot greater.
And this exclusion, if the council was to not accept it, we would then run into exacerbated cost to the city. Is that correct?
If someone qualified for one of these treatments, yes.
I did read a lot about these treatments, and most of them are not FDA approved. So if they did choose to do a treatment that is not FDA approved, that would not be covered under insurance at all anyway, correct?
Right. Your plan does require that they're FDA approved, but there are some that are FDA approved.
I did read one specifically for celiac disease that is being approved. And
yep. And there's new ones being released.
yeah, the cost is like $3 million a year or something.
Yep. This is more of a protective measure, because obviously if you have one pop up in the year it happens, the city has the protection for your stop loss limits. But when we go to renew the next year, your costs are going to skyrocket if the stop loss carrier has $1 million losses. So your premiums you pay for stop loss, as well as they could laser that individual and choose not to cover them for whatever they think the treatment's going to cost, and the city would be responsible for all their costs if they stayed on the plan.
And in general, they're still considered experimental for the most part, correct?
Not the ones that are approved at this point. But because they're newer on the market, there is some, I guess you could say, controversy on if they truly cure the condition, or I think they were talking about one where like it alleviated symptoms for 3 years, but now so people are starting to have it, so they might need the treatment again. So they're still newer in development, where the kind of the future outlook on it is still kind of up in the air.
I was just reading that as of June of 2024, there are 19 FDA approved gene therapies. So there are quite a few that are approved by the FDA.
Okay, thank you. Can we move on?
Yep.
Yep.
Thank you.
Ancillary benefits. So you guys, the city offers life and an AD&D, as well as voluntary life, AD&D, STD, and LTD through Mutual of Omaha. Mutual of Omaha issued the renewal and are doing a rate pass and a 2-year rate guarantee. So no changes to those rates. And the next renewal wouldn't happen again until July of 2027. But based on talking with the HR team and Trisha, we are recommending increasing the short-term disability weekly maximum benefit to $700. It's currently $500. And really, it's just because you've got some people that are maxing out on that $500 weekly benefit. So it doesn't impact the rates. It would just increase the volume that you're paying the rate on. And if you chose that, based on current enrollment, it would cost $255 more per month to give those people the additional benefit.
Per employee?
No, that's total based on current enrollment.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay. RX Smart Savings. So this is a program that works directly with the member's physician to help them switch from high cost drugs to low cost alternatives. It works with the provider as well and the pharmacy to see if there could be lower cost alternatives to the member. You did have this in place, but terminated it in 2023 because the cost was $1.50 per employee per month. And there's no direct ROI. If people don't switch the medications, then there really is no savings. They did lower the program cost down to $1, but they will waive that cost for the first 2 years if we're in a multi-year administrative agreement with Meritain. So there's really no risk if you wanted to accept it for that 2-year agreement. And then at the end of that 2 years, we could evaluate, did the program have any activity? What was the estimated savings? And is it worth now paying the $1 per employee per month?
So by accepting their 2-year term, it doesn't automatically roll us over into enrollment, does it?
To enrollment, what do you mean?
To the $1 per person per month charge?
Correct. You would, at the end of the 2 years, we could determine whether you wanted to keep the program in place because now you were going to start being charged for it.
So can you explain to me how this works? Somebody goes to the doctor, they get a prescription, they take that prescription to the pharmacy and get it filled. Where does this kick in?
So the RX Smart Savings people are reviewing all the clinical data, what prescriptions are being dispensed, what they're being dispensed for. And if they identify that someone is taking a medication where there is a lower cost alternative to the member, but also to the plan, then they would reach out to the member. They can do it through text, email, letters, and they can also reach out to the physician to talk about the options available and if they could feasibly be switched to a different medication. They're not required to do so though, but they would intervene to try and educate and create some of that steerage.
So this kicks in for somebody that has an ongoing prescription, not for somebody that, goes to the doctor and gets a, 1-month prescription for something.
Right. Yeah, this would be for ongoing,
They
like
would
managing
automatically
conditions.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, no, it's okay.
They automatically review every single prescription and determine whether or not, and then they call the employee themselves. And I'm really not sure how this program works.
So I do not believe they call the employee. They would reach out via letters, emails, if they have the email, and text if they have a texting capability. And then it gives the employee, it says, hey, we've identified an opportunity where you could save money on your prescriptions. Do you want to learn more? And it gives them a number to call in. So it's targeted based on something that they're taking. And then if they want to act, then they can act. They can initiate and get help from the RX Smart Savings team, or they ignore it and there's no behavior changes and no savings.
And then there's no risk for 2 years. It says, how do they determine whether or not this program has been taken advantage of to determine whether or not it's paid for itself?
So RX Smart Savings will give utilization reports on how many people who they've reached out to and if they did make a switch. So we will get annually kind of a report showing how it performed.
Would they need feedback from the employee to know if they switched, or will they automatically know somehow?
They can see the prescription. So by watching the member, they could see if they took any action. But if the member's still taking the same prescription, then it would show up as, that they didn't engage. They'll show how many members they've identified that could have a savings opportunity, how many actually did something. And then estimated plan costs based on them making that switch if they did.
Further questions? Please continue.
All right. So this sums up all the decision point areas that we just went through. So we've got the Maritime renewal, the medical plan provisions, the vision plan provisions, and then it does go on to the next sheet to talk about like the short-term disability and some of the cost containment programs we just talked about.
That's assuming that we are adopting the recommendation for alternative number 1.
What do you?
The
what do
very
you
first line, that would just
the-
be the administrative renewal. Sorry. Where there was no
Yep.
change to these. Yep.
I didn't understand that.
So deciding to renew Maritime as is with no change in fees, that's a decision point. And obviously we recommend that. But correct me if I'm wrong, Angela. I think each of these items you typically vote on whether you're accepting or you want to decline the recommendation.
Correct.
I believe the question was, are these decisions points based on insurance option 1, 2, or 3 through,
Stop loss renewal
yeah,
alternative.
through BRM or
No.
OPI?
So that will be, those will be our next slide. We'll be talking
Yep.
about stop loss.
Yep. Yeah, so they're kind of separated by what they would impact, or does it have to do with the third-party administrator? Does it have to do with the stop loss carrier? Is it plan provisions? Is it vision? That kind of thing.
Do we need a motion?
Our presentation.
Rest or just candidates?
Had more questions about pharmacy, but I don't see, you should have highlighted it. Go ahead.
Tiffany, maybe we need to go line by line.
Is that how you want to do it? Or are there any questions people have before they feel like they're ready to make decisions?
I think we're waiting to find one question, so
No,
just-
go ahead. I can't find it.
I would move that we accept all the recommendations.
Second.
So moved by Councilman Jacobson and seconded by Councilman Schuster. Further discussion, questions?
The eyeglasses, $400 a pair. So when I got my glasses last year, I went in they said it was $170. Well, I didn't know that was just for the frames. And by the time I was done with everything, it was nearly $900 for a pair of glasses. I went online and got a second pair and they were darn near identical for less than $100. Is there a way that we can encourage our employees to use online? Because right now it's $400 is what we're recommending increasing it and doubling that basically because we're increasing it to one pair every year rather than every other year. So we're going from $300 every other year to $400 every year. Is there a way that we can incentivize our employees to buy their glasses online?
So, I mean, yes, we can educate and tell employees how to make those dollars go farther. Strategies that they can do to utilize that. The plan, someone could still do that and submit, pay $300 or, $150 for companies like Warby Parker and things like that, where they'll send you glasses and you can send them back once you try them on. And they'll, the employee, if they chose to do that, they could still submit their receipts to get it to apply and get reimbursed from the plan.
Okay, that was my question.
Yep.
If they have to use a local optometrist or something to buy their glasses, or if they can buy them online and then get reimbursed for them.
I do not believe for eye doctors, like the actual eye exam, they do. It has to be like a part of the vision network. But getting materials, there's no requirement that they get them through that provider.
Okay.
Any further questions or discussions?
Same question about the pharmacy, and I can't find it here, and I apologize. I saw somewhere that it was more expensive to buy the prescriptions online for some reason. Do you know what I'm talking about? Because I cannot find it.
In the packet that we sent?
Yes. I swear it was there. I just highlighted it.
I wonder if it was in the back.
Oh, here we go. Okay, so current medical plan under prescriptions, it says retail and mail order. Retail generic is $10 copay. Mail order generic is $20 copay. Oftentimes when you do mail order, it's because it's cheaper, but we're making them pay more of a copay, so they would
So
have to pay.
when they do mail order, they're getting a 90-day supply instead of a 30-day supply at the retail. So it's 2 times the copay, but you're getting more medication.
Okay, that's not spelled out here, so
Yep.
that makes sense.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. That makes a lot more sense.
Sorry, I don't want to get anyone dizzy.
Citizens' comments, please.
Yeah. I'm just looking. Were there any other questions on here, or?
We ready to go to the next slide?
We are allowing members of the public to comment on our motion to adopt all these decision points. And then
Oh, okay.
after we hear public testimony, then we will take a vote as a council.
Sure.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate it. I was not planning to speak today on this, but it's up here, so I will.
Real quickly, I'm sorry, just state your name for the record.
Of course.
And place of residence.
My name is Todd Bloom. My place of residence is actually in off of Chena Ridge. So
Continue. Thank you, sir.
yes. So as a current employee of the department, these benefits directly affect and impact me and my family as well. So after looking over, I did not look over this presentation ahead of time, but after looking over the presentation that was presented, there were a couple things that concerned me with some of the recommendations that were made. One of the things that concerned me was that co-insurance specifically. We do live in Fairbanks, Alaska. There's not a lot of options up here. So having that additional requirement for that in-network in order to gain that 10%, gain back to that 10% is a concern. Again, we all live here. We all, we know what limited options for medical we have up here. So that co-insurance does concern me a little bit, requiring that in-network effect. The other thing is the deductibles are going up. I understand costs increase. I get it. However, as I can only speak from the law enforcement side, but as a city, as a department, as someone who's worked in other departments too in the area, I do know that our health insurance plan on the law enforcement side is not to the same level as other departments in the area. And right now we have a full department. We are not trying to attract people, we're trying to retain what we have. And so increasing costs on employees through medical is not going to encourage that retainment, okay? Does that sort of make sense, hopefully? I understand costs increase though on you guys, and yes, costs should increase on employees as well if they're increasing on you. But just to be aware of that, we need to make sure we're making decisions as a city to continue to retain employees. As far as the RX savings program goes, if I had known we were talking about this, I would have brought my wife. She's a pharmacist at FMH. She knows this stuff very well. And she tuned in just when they were starting this, and she sent me a text in all capital letters saying, do not do the RX savings program, because it's basically like a PBM type management program. So I would love to provide you more details on that. Obviously, I've been sitting here not talking to my wife, but I can certainly bring additional details to a second reading of this if that is going to occur.
What is PBM?
Thank you.
Exactly.
That was my question as well. Thank you for asking.
She said it acts as an intermediary between drug manufacturers, insurance companies, and pharmacies. Negotiates rebates, discounts with drug companies, which are then passed on to payers. So there's some more information on it, but it sounds like it's some sort of like third party involved in negotiating prices and contracts. But again, I'm not the expert on this. My wife knows a whole lot more, and I will happily have that conversation with her afterwards. So
If you'll oblige me. Tiffany,
Yes.
could you help answer what is a PBM and how that program works based on the testimony we've just heard?
Sure. A PBM is a pharmacy benefit manager, and your PBM for the city is CVS. So the RX savings program, that is separate. It has nothing to do with CVS. Prudent RX is one of those intermediaries. You guys already have that as part of the program to help save on specialty medication costs for the member and the plan. The RX savings is more of an internal, and to my understanding, talking with Meritain, it's something that they're doing internally. It is not through CVS.
that is all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions for me or anything? I don't.
Well, more the first thing you talked about, the out-of-network. Tiffany, maybe you could address that.
The out-of-network. So yes, that is a consideration. At this time, it would change the co-insurance, but it would not affect the out-of-pocket maximum. So at the end of the day, that the total liability from an employee perspective is the same, but they might be paying more of those bills, meeting their out-of-pocket sooner when they're seeing out-of-network providers.
Could you say that just one more time? I had a hard time wrapping my head around that, and I believe I'm not the only one.
Sure. So I'm thinking Angela, can you scroll to the slide that has the plan design on it? Thank you. Okay. So right now, it's the same 375 whether you're in or out of network, and 10% co-insurance whether you're in or out of network, with an individual out-of-pocket maximum of $4,500. So that is not changing, and the deductible is the same regardless of whether they're in or out of network. But once the deductible's been met, if you change that co-insurance tier for participating, non-participating, the member's going to pay either 20% or 30% instead of 10, but they're still capped at the same $4,500 out of pocket. So there is some cost shifting. And, I think the general recommendation from that is just that there is some steerage in trying to incentivize people to go to the places that have preferred contracted rates to help with plan costs. Because at the end of the day, when they're part of the network, they've got their rates that have already been negotiated. The plan allows up to their paid allowed amount for claims and things like that. So it does also protect the member when they're going to in-network providers.
And then to clarify my question earlier about in-network and out-of-network. So if this gentleman needs to go see a doctor and we do not have that particular specialty in network, then he can be approved to see an out-of-network doctor, but it will count as in-network. Since we don't have one within a 50-mile radius, it will count as in-network as far as the copay goes, correct?
Yes, the coinsurance would be 10% if there was not an in-network participating provider option.
That address that concern then.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but if there is one in-network provider in the area, then you must see that in-network provider, even if it is not the best in-network provider in the area as far as care is concerned, because it's the in-network one.
You could see
If-
whichever
yes.
provider.
Okay.
Yes, if there is one, then the expectation is that you see them. And I mean, there's some rare instances where you might be able to get an exception. Maybe they don't specifically do that type of treatment or visit, or if they can't get you in a reasonable time frame, things like that. But those are more the rare exceptions.
But if I understand this correct, you could choose to see the other provider. You would just have to pay a little bit more upfront.
Coinsurance, yep.
copay.
Absolutely.
It does not affect your out-of-pocket maximum,
Correct.
correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Any other questions you had or comments you wanted to bring up, sir?
I do not at this time. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. Anyone else like to speak to for questions? Okay, please,
I
go ahead.
appreciate the question about retaining employees, and it's reassuring that the maximum out-of-pocket expenses for individual family are not being raised. So they might get to that point faster if they do the out-of-network, but I don't think that will be a factor to retain or not retain employees.
And when I was going through all this in the last couple of weeks, I looked at different insurance plans, specifically Fairbanks, and this blows Fairbanks out of the water.
Any other comments? Questions? Motion on the floor, please call the roll.
On the Meritain Health Insurance renewal, Mr. Jacobson moved and seconded by Mr. Schuster. Mr. Williams?
Can I clarify something really quick?
Yeah, oh, I'm sorry.
Is this a first reading, or are we
This isn't,
making our final
this isn't an
decision?
ordinance, yeah.
Okay,
So
so we're
this,
making a final decision
it's a,
right
it's
here.
a one reading item, yeah.
We have to meet a timeline for this.
Yeah, and the stop loss quote is only good through the 9th. Is that correct, ladies?
Correct.
Yes, they need all decisions and paperwork on the stop loss by Friday. Otherwise, they'll request the next month's claim data.
9th of June.
9th of May.
May.
Tonight is decision point. Yes, no.
Yes.
Okay, and here we are again. On the Meritain Health Insurance renewal, Mr. Williams,
I'll say yes. Yes.
Mr. Jacobson,
Yes.
Mr. Schuster,
Yes.
Mr. Claus,
Yes.
Mr. Brandt,
Yes.
and Mayor Church.
I shall abstain. Thank you.
And that brings us to council member comments. Oh, I'm sorry, ladies.
So was that for recommendations for everything that we're looking at on this one particular slide?
I thought,
Oh.
I thought you agreed to the red recommendations. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
On both,
Yes.
yeah, correct.
Okay. Okay, so we can move on to stop loss?
Oh, I thought they just voted on all the red recommendations.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah,
Correct.
Stop loss was alternative 1, and I think we were in agreement with that.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Sorry. Okay,
all right.
those were the decision points then.
Thank you for your time, ladies. We appreciate your info as always. Enjoy your evening, and thank you for your willingness to be able to meet with us and answer our questions. I
Of
believe
course,
that
thank you.
takes us once
Thank
again
you.
to council member comments.
Yeah, Tiffany, thank you for scrambling as you arrived to your destination, 4 hours ahead of us.
Yeah, no, I was supposed to be here hours and hours ago, but weather had a different idea. So I appreciate all your patience, and I'm glad we were able to make this happen.
Okay, well, thank you. You
All right.
ladies have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. You too.
And let's go ahead and start with Mr. Schuster.
Okay. First, I'd like to thank Chief Dutra for all his years of service and say congrats to Chief Smith. Excited for your continued service to the city. Last week, I attended a meeting. It was the Friends of Newbie Park. Mayor Grier Hopkins was there. They have a couple different options of things, but mainly one thing they wanted to convey is they need some help at the park with just kind of surveillance and people keeping an eye on it. They're doing some work over there and trying to there's coaches volunteering hours to help with the field and there's been some people vandalizing it and so the more eyes on it, the better. If people that live in the area, keep an eye on it and deter that. I went to a meeting last week with Travis Million, the CEO of Golden Valley. He was given an update on some of the projects they're working on, repairs to their broken or aging battery system. And he was also talked about how they wanted to change the capital credits program from every 20 or 25 years to releasing those every year. One cool thing is with unclaimed capital credits, they do scholarships. And there was a $16,000 scholarship given out to a student at North Pole High School for this year. So that was great from North Pole. Next thing, April 24th was Brad Olson Day in the city of North Pole. At the time, Mayor Jacobson gave that proclamation back in 2004. Brad Olson played high school basketball at North Pole, went on to UAF where he led the Nanoks to a 64-24 record, two-time Conference Player of the Year, 2 Elite 8 appearances, a top of the world tournament victory, and was named MVP. The team that year beat D1 Weber State, Nebraska, Wisconsin, Green Bay. Brad went on to have a 14-year decorated professional career in one of the best leagues in the world. He travels from Fairbanks in the winter now, but helps out at the high school level with time and money. So that was April 24th. That's all I got.
Thank you, Mr. Schuster. Mr. Williams.
I'd like to thank the outgoing chief and as well as the incoming chief. Each year or each individual, what I'm hearing is everybody, you guys are getting better and better, and that's very good. But the situation of the vehicle that individual came up, I think we're doing really, really good in reference about having the literature so individuals will understand what's going on, and we don't put everything on one person to make a decision. If it's out there, then we'll follow the rules. That's what I'm seeing. This particular group on the council, we're getting into some really, really interesting and deep stuff for us to look at things down the future for everybody. And sometimes it's going to take, we're going to disagree, but we got to put our best foot out there and take care of the people here in North Pole. That's very, very important for all of us. Everybody sees things a different way. We just have to understand and respect what somebody else says. And sometimes it's hard. I might see something one way and you might see something another way, but we just have to compromise and make it work for us. But most important is take care of our people, and each time it's getting better and better and better. As what I'm talking about, the council, understanding what's going on, making things work for everybody as a whole. I'm going to drop the mic for the next person.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Mr. Jacobson?
Thank you. It's hard to believe that we are coming to the end of an era with Steve Dutra retiring. I can't think of police department the same without him being at the forefront. But I have total confidence in our new chief, Jed Smith, that he will continue with the excellent level of service that we take pride in our community. So congratulations to Chief Smith, and I talked to Chief Dutra earlier and said that he's not going to sneak away quietly, that we will still recognize him publicly. We didn't have a proclamation or a plaque to give him tonight, but we will definitely acknowledge his contributions to our city and community, and also on the state level. I appreciate the fact that we have a lot of focus and conversation about cleanup day. With the snow melting and with the wind blowing, it's everybody out there on deck cleaning up, and I see yellow bags out there already. So I appreciate those who have been out early, and just encourage all of us everywhere to spend some time picking up litter wherever you may see it and can pick it up. I really appreciate the North Pole Chamber of Commerce and all of the wonderful community events that they are promoting and hosting. We are fortunate to have the leadership and energy of the North Pole Community Chamber of Commerce. We haven't always had that in our community, and it is a driver right now. I really do appreciate Mr. Brandt's and Chief Smith's comments and amendments to our ordinance that we passed tonight, 2025-04 on impound vehicles. I think it was a win-win for everyone, so I appreciate that. It's disappointing to hear about the vandalism that's taking place at Newby Park. It's truly a community treasure and historic landmark, and it's unfortunate that idiots are destroying and damaging that property that is much in demand during the summer season for our sports teams and families to use. So it takes a village, it takes a neighborhood, it takes a community. We'll all have to just do what we can to put our eyes on that, to reduce that amount of vandalism. So any sort of new investments or improvements that the community or the Friends of the North Pole of the Newby Park group and the borough takes or does will be preserved and not damaged. Recently, I had the opportunity to meet and welcome the new manager of the Three Bear store and his wife, and that was a delight, a surprise, and glad that they are here now in North Pole. Thank you, Councilmember Schuster, for the flashback Brad Olson Day proclamation. That was a fond memory. In fact, I taught Brad Olson in the 6th grade, so that really was a flashback, Mr. Schuster. I don't think we as a city recognize this, but the North Pole High School girls flag football team took state this year. It was a new league, and they rose all the way up to the top tier. The state legislature did recognize them officially, and there's a really nice document from that. But I think that's something that we should do even after the fact. And it's, I think the more positive recognition we can do for what's happening in our community, the better off it is. Sometimes things slip under the radar screen with so many moving things. There's a lot of reading and participating in events, but I would recommend that we do that if we can, just so that we have something in our records recognizing our local girls flag football team's accomplishments. And that I close my remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jacobson. Mr. Claus?
Well, my heartfelt wishes for a happy retirement to Chief Dutra, and a hearty welcome to Chief Smith. When we were going through the insurance stuff, it reminded me of when I was serving on council last time. one of the questions I asked the people who were doing the work for the city to try and find us the best policies. I said, what would happen if we had Medicare for all? And the people, to their credit, kind of looked up from the table, the presenters, and said, well, you wouldn't need us. You wouldn't need any insurance companies. You wouldn't even have to deal with this situation yourself because we'd all be insured individually no matter what we are or where we are. So something to consider for the future. And as far as the city right here goes, I do a lot of walking here, and it's kind of nice to walk on dry pavement for a change. So I'm happy the city was able to do a really good job with the snow melt and all the rest of it. So kudos to all the different departments who did their part, every department. So my thanks to everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Claus. Mr. Brandt.
I too want to thank Chief Dutra for all the years of service here in the city and for leaving it in such good shape for our new chief. I think you're going to do a wonderful job. I think Chief Dutra is probably going to be a lot busier in retirement than he ever has been. So anyway, good luck to him. I was going to talk about the meeting that Mr. Schuster and I went to regarding Newby Field, but he kind of touched on that already. I will say that Mayor Hopkins had some actually very good options for going forward with it. There will be another meeting coming up, if I'm not mistaken, on the 21st. I don't think that's in stone yet, but if I find out for sure, I'll let everybody know about that. It's pretty exciting that that's going to be finally fixed up after years of decline. That's about it. I will say I did go down and speak to Howard, like I was talking earlier, down at the Welcome Center, and the things that they're planning on there are really exciting. Every single one of his ideas would bring people into the city, and some pretty unique ideas he had. And I just encourage anybody and everybody to go down there and check out the temporary facility there. He's got the plans for what they plan for the new facility and the entire area, how that's going to be developed. And I think anything that we can do to help them along that would be great for the city in general. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brandt. Mayor Church.
I would like to double all the comments that were made here this evening. I think that's super wonderful. Really do appreciate Steve Dutra's service to our city. And in my heart of hearts, I know that Jed will do exactly the same and continue the same path that was set by the previous chiefs before him. And we are very happy that he decided to take that position and stay with the city of North Pole with all of the other opportunities out there that he was put in. I'm glad that you chose us. So thank you very much. I want to remind everyone that North Pole High School graduation is May 13th at 7 p.m. down at the Carlson Center. Week after that, May 18th, is the Terry Marquette Memorial Service that will happen at North Pole High School. He was the very first principal of North Pole High School, and I'm glad to say that I got to spend some time with him as my principal. We spent some time together, not as much as we should have, but some time. And he was wonderful in the way that he passed out true life advice. And sad day coming up, but glad that there's no pain in his life anymore. Spent a lot of time in the last couple of weeks visiting North Pole businesses, and now is the time that they truly do need some assistance and help. Usually we have visitors that come into our city and help out our businesses. This month is very slow. It's the transition between winter and summer tourism. So keep that in mind when you are deciding where to eat and where to spend your dollars. I'm very thankful for the businesses that are here. And very happy that we have such an eclectic choice and decision in our small community, that people do business here. We do have 3 red flags coming up this summer. First one is starting in June, so there should be some relief in that. And cleanup day this Saturday. Let's make that happen for our community. Thank you very much for this evening. And with that, I'd like to move to adjournment.
I'll second.
And we are adjourned at 9:38.